June 2014, a group of terrorists known as ISIS launched an assault on the main city in North Iraq, called Mosul. Within days, they began destroying graves of the prophets, and a month later, churches and the priceless artifacts. The terrorists ISIS claim that they are following the Islamic rules, and yet they do not hesitate to kill innocent people in the most aggressive ways, wipe out the ancient history in order to prevent future generations to know about their ancestors. And they also blew up the largest library in Mosul, which was an attraction to those who were seeking knowledge. Why did they destroy the graves of the prophets in the first place? Then nearly 7 months later, the archaeological pieces. Is it because the looting and the selling of the antiquities needed more time? Is it not true that the smuggling needs help and support from a strong organized side that has money and power? Researching in Iraqi heritage is not an easy, straightforward mission. Yet, it is an ancient civilization which is thousands of years old. Therefore, it needed a great effort and deep research and interviews with high-profile experts. Whenever we moved forward, we discovered more archaeological sites. After this long journey of seeking, we found that Iraq, despite of all that destructions that's happened to it, will remain the first state that has the richest heritage and the civilization which had been born throughout centuries and tells many stories.
They first went and destroyed usually most of the Islamic shrines, because that's against their belief, that you shouldn't worship a shrine, you shouldn't. So they went through quite a lot. Mosul has the best Islamic shrines from the 12th, 13th, 14th, 16th centuries.
And most of those places are shrines, it is true. They're built in memory of particular historical figures or their tombs, but not all of them. And so I think that makes one question whether the motivation is purely a religious one.
And so to establish this new philosophy into a region like this, which has a very deep history in the area, you have to kind of destroy what was there before and remove it, even if it's somewhat related or not related, or whatever was there you want to basically destroy is what I think they want to do. So start from year zero, this idea that this is the beginning essentially, and the beginning is what we're saying is what you should do from now on, what your identity should be, what your culture should be. So everything before is inappropriate and should be forgotten.
There is a lot of talk that they have stolen things, but there is no evidence. I'm an archaeologist. I don't accept just talk. I want evidence. When somebody tells me, give me the evidence for it. And if there is no evidence, there is a possibility it didn't exist. Talk is not enough.
لدينا أدلتنا التي تكفي يعني إبرازها أمام الناس بأن داعش تمول الأعمال الإرهابية من خلال المتاجرة بالآثار والنفط، وليس خافيا على أحد بأن داعش وراءها جهات عديدة وهي تقوم بتمويلها وتزويدها بالسلاح وتزويدها بالمقاتلين، وإلا لو كانت داعش معزولة في هذه المناطق التي تقاتل عليها لانتهينا من داعش قبل أشهر. داعش تتزود بالعتاد والسلاح والرجال. المقاتلين الأجانب الذين يأتون إلى داعش من أين يأتون؟ مستحيل أن يأتون من القمر، إنهم يأتون من خلال حدود برية، من خلال مطارات، من خلال دول متعاونة مع داعش، وهذا ليس خافيا على أحد.
Yeah, I think it's possible. I mean, one thing that's possible, I was thinking, is the reason why they're showing us these castes being broken, because maybe they're just trying to break the castes as a kind of show of force, and then the originals maybe they're stealing, you know, and they're trying to get money for them. So that's also a possibility, which is why we're seeing the cast being broken. So that could be the case. I mean, we saw the winged bull also being smashed, which is definitely original. So they are certainly breaking some original pieces, or destroying them is a better word to say it. But I also think they are motivated to steal these things, to sell them, to make profit, basically, to fund their activities.
There are certainly some people who are questioning whether the motives of the people who did this terrible damage were actually religious. I know a friend of mine in Mosul wrote to me and said that he didn't think that the reasons for doing this were religious. Instead, he thought that some of the people involved with Daesh actually were people looking simply for money and had other motives.
أكثر من 25 مزاد في العالم يتعامل مع الآثار العراقية بيعاً وشراءً. هذه المزادات تتعاطى مع مافيات وتجار آثار، وداعش وجد طريقه إلى هذه المافيات ليبيع لها الآثار.
For a long time now, since really after the first Gulf War, or 1990-91 events, there's been a problem with looting in southern Iraq, and so there's been networks established for a few decades now, and it's been increasing, it's becoming now a kind of profiteering, and so I would agree that the ISIS at this point is kind of benefiting from well-established networks that are in the region, and they're probably certainly using this to fund their operations.
لكننا متفائلين بأن العالم سيقف مع العراق في أن يعيد للعراق كل ما سرق، وعلى الدول أن تتعاون وأن تطبق قرار مجلس الأمن 2199 بأن تمنع المتاجرة بالآثار على أراضيها وفي المزادات التي مفتوحة في عواصمها حتى يستطيع العراق استعادة ما سرق منه.
Most of them are original. Only 7 of them were cast, but the rest, about I think 57 or something like that, were mostly original. Only 7 of these were cast replicas. And you can see it on the video, if those people who have seen the video. The statues or reliefs that fell on the ground and immediately broke into pieces and crumbled really, it were replicas because made of gypsum, while the real statues, which are made of stone, they were trying to break them with axes and so on. They were kept on to it. So that's the difference. It's very obvious that they were real ones. It's unfortunate there was 1 or 2 statesmen saying that they are cast.
I think some later reports I've seen that is a good number were original. Certainly some were casts, for sure. At least 2, if not more than that, from you can see in the video. So I think there are some that are original. How many is not clear to me.
ونحن أكدنا أكثر من مرة بأن الآثار في متحف الموصل كلها أصلية، أكثر من 137 قطعة أثرية أصلية معروضة في 3 قاعات مهمة في متحف الموصل، ولا يوجد من النسخ الجبسية إلا 4 نسخ فقط، وكنا قد أرسلنا هذه النسخ لنعوض بعض الآثار. كنا نعد العدة لافتتاح متحف الموصل، فكانت هناك آثار أصلية عددها 137 موزعة على القاعة الآشورية والقاعة الحضرية والقاعة الإسلامية. وما ظهر في الفيلم الذي بثته عصابات داعش الإرهابية يبين أن هناك آثار أصلية حجرية كان الجهلة والمجرمين يقومون بتحطيمها بهراواتهم الثقيلة، بمطارقهم الثقيلة، وهي من الحجر. أما هناك ظهر في الفيلم قطعة أو قطعتين من الجبس. نعم، هناك آثار جبسية عددها 4 فقط.
متحف الموصل أنا زرته سنة 2002، وبحيلة تمكنت أن أصور جميع محتويات المتحف، وموجود عندي سجل كل اللي صور صور لكل الأشياء اللي موجودة بالمتحف. الآثار والتماثيل الآشورية التي دمرت ما كانت موجودة بالمتحف، أظن كان ماخذيها ومخزنيها في بغداد وقتها. ما شفتها في متحف الموصل. من شفتهم يدمرون هذه التماثيل اللي رجعوها متحف بغداد إلى الموصل. بعض منها تمام كانت من جبس، لكن بعض منها حقيقية تأثرت وتألمت كلش كثير.
They destroyed a number of shrines, including the grave of the Prophet Sheet, on the 9th of July 2014.
دمروا حضارة وسجل حضاري كبير جدا. قبلها بدأوا يدمرون الأضرحة اللي بالموصل واللي أهل الموصل يعتزون بها كثير. واحد من الجوامع اللي دمروها هو جامع النبي شيت، وهو جامع بناه واحد من أجدادي، ووالدي مدفون بصف الجامع، والآن أكيد أنقاض كلها فوق قبر والدي. وآخرين هدموا ابن الحسن، فجروا ابن الحسن. هذا صرح تاريخي مهم، كان أوروبيين يحجون حتى يشوفوه، ولو هو كان آيل للسقوط ما حد كان يهتم به. أجدادي مدفونين به، هاي كلها أزيلت. أزالوا جامع الأغوات اللي جدي الكبير حاج حسين باشا مدفون به. هذه بالنسبة لي شخصيا، تمسني شخصيا.
The irreparable destruction by ISIS thugs to the artistic legacy of Hatra on the 7th of March 2015 has been tragic, yet it's the birthplace of human civilization.
The statues that they were destroying are primarily from Hatra, the ones in the museum. This is coming from an ancient city just southwest of Mosul in Nineveh province proper. It is an important city because it's pre-Islamic city from the first millennium AD, so after Christ. But it was a time period when you also had Arabs migrating to the region and establishing semi-independent kingdoms that were trading with the Roman Empire, also Parthian Empire. So they were a very prosperous small kingdom within the larger Parthian state.
And Hatra is a World Heritage Site, of course, and these are very, very important pieces, and it's a very sad loss. Also the Assyrian pieces are interesting, but not quite so important as the Hatra pieces, because there are other Assyrian pieces in other places in Baghdad and so on.
And they were basically, some people call it among the earliest sort of Arab cities in a sense, because you had Arab populations living there in this region. That's another question, but the point is that it certainly has this kind of connections to Iraq later history, but also obviously its earlier history, pre-Islamic history.
One of the extraordinary cultural heritage sites in Mosul is the city of Nimrud, which took hammers on by the occupiers on the 12th of April 2015.
تفجيرات مدينة نمرود كانت جريمة كبيرة، لأنهم قد فخخوا قصر آشور ناصر بال الثاني، أهم قصور مدينة نمرود الأثرية. وأظهر الفيلم كميات المتفجرات التي يقومون بتحضيرها لنسف هذا المرفق المهم، وبالفعل كان تفجيرا هائلا وكبيرا، وقد فقدنا خلال هذا التفجير أهم قصر في مدينة نمرود الأثرية يعود للملك آشور ناصر بال الثاني.
Nimrud was a capital of the new Assyrian Empire in the 9th century BC into the 8th century as well. BC, and it was an important city, very large city again, about 400 hectares, so something about the size of central London. Think of the city in London, you know, the financial district, it's about that size. So it's a very large city, and it has this important palace where a number of the queens, the Assyrian queens, were buried. So one of the best treasures anywhere from the ancient world was found in Nimrud. It has this huge hoard of ivories, so it was a place where they collected all kinds of ivories from states they were getting in contact with, getting tribute from, or even defeating in battles, and bringing this ivory back. And these ivories are very, very precious because there's not many places in the world that have this kind of huge repository of them. Of course, there were the reliefs. A lot of them you can see in the British Museum, and other places as well, as in New York, for instance. So those are also very rare. So Nimrud is one of these sites that has extremely rare objects on it.
With regard to what they might have taken or found at Nimrud, for example, we don't know yet to what extent they destroyed things and to what extent things are going to appear on the market.
So I do hope that somehow there will be some kind of international action to save these ancient sites, not only for Iraqis but for the world heritage that they represent.
I used to go to the British Museum whenever I feel homesick. I go to the British Museum, I look at the walls, the reliefs, and just feeling home. So thinking one day that I would go and see them, but it never happened.
I think that buildings are a kind of reflection of time, and like the people who have been around, it's like telling time visually, and you're living inside of that time. So if you've destroyed something, that can't be replaced, because the wear and tear on a building shows the culture and the society.
انتهاك داعش لحرمة آثار العراق يعني أن داعش هي عدو لكل المذاهب، عدو لكل الأديان، عدو لكل المعتقدات. داعش فجرت مراقد شيعية، سنية، مسيحية، أيزيدية، ما يعني أن داعش هي ضد كل إنسان.
ISIS wants our culture to be wiped out. That's why they were so smashing them in a very angry way. They were so furious at them. They were so jealous at them. It was a terrible feeling for me to watch these. I felt very sad. I felt very distracted, heartbroken.
العراق كله آثار، كله مواقع أثرية، وتقريبا وين ما تحفرين راح تشوفين آثار. فإن شاء الله نعوض عن اللي راح باستكشاف المدفون والموجود في البلد. وأنا أتوقع أنه نعوض عن أكثر من اللي ضاع إن شاء الله.
نقوم برد ثقافي على ما تفعله داعش. كان افتتاح المتحف العراقي واحد من الردود الثقافية المهمة، وافتتحنا المتحف بعد يومين من حادثة تحطيم متحف الموصل، وكان له وقع كبير عالميا. تلقينا تهاني كبيرة من كل الأوساط العالمية، متاحف عالمية وجامعات، وكل المثقفين في العالم باركوا للعراق هذه الخطوة. واستعاد العراق مؤخرا افتتاح متحف بعد غلق أكثر من 13 سنة. المتحف العراقي مغلق أمام العائلة العراقية وأمام المثقف العراقي وأمام الباحث، ونحن سعيدين بهذه الخطوة. واتجهنا إلى فتح متاحف المحافظات، وقمنا بفتح متحف الناصرية ومتحف عبد الكريم قاسم في شارع الرشيد، وافتتحنا دار بدر شاكر السياف في البصرة. وهكذا لدينا فعاليات كثيرة وافتتاحات كثيرة سنقوم بالرد على داعش من خلال مشاريعنا الثقافية.